Ned Flanders once got drunk, blacked out in Las Vegas, and woke up married to a cocktail waitress named Ginger. Meanwhile, back home in Springfield, he was still mourning his wife who got blasted off the bleachers by a rogue t-shirt cannon. Praise Jeebus. And that's not even the craziest part. This is the same guy who won't drink soda with caffeine, calls movies non-Christian filth, and literally says heck like it's a cuss word. But when it comes to his love life, Ned's been through more chaos than Homer's colon. This isn't just the story of Springfield's favorite mustache with a man attached. It's a wild, romantic roller coaster filled with schoolteachers, showgirls, spiritual breakdowns, and enough dead wives to make even Sideshow Bob say yikes. And somehow, despite all this, Ned still shows up to church every Sunday like nothing ever happened. The man buried 2 wives, dated a movie star, flirted with Marge Simpson, and once got ghost-cucked by Maud in front of Edna's ghost. Literal ghost drama. Eat your heart out, Casper. He's been with every type of woman, from morally upright to morally grey to just morally not present. And let's not forget that one time he almost dated a woman who was also dating Sideshow Mel. Yes, the guy with the bone in his hair. But the real question is this. Out of all the mayhem, who was Ned's actual soulmate? Was it Maud, the God-fearing casserole queen? Edna, the chain-smoking realist who told Ned where he could stick his judgment? Or maybe, just maybe, was it someone Ned never saw coming? So grab your Leftorium coupons and brace yourself for a deep dive into the messiest, wildest, and most unexpectedly hilarious romantic saga in Simpsons history. This is the story of Ned Flanders' love life. And by the end, we might just figure out if Ned ever really got his happy ending, or if Springfield's most wholesome bachelor is actually the show's most tragic character in disguise. Because let's face it, when even Ralph Wiggum has a more stable love life than you, it might be time to take a long, hard look at your mustache in the mirror. Maud Flanders, the perfect wife. Until she wasn't. Before the t-shirt cannon launched her into the afterlife, Maud Flanders was peak Springfield wife material. Always polite, eternally supportive, and shaped like a modestly blessed corn dog. To Ned, she was more than a spouse. She was his God-approved, scripture highlighting, Bible study hosting queen. Maud first appeared back in season 2, instantly setting the bar for wife who makes Marge feel insecure. Her biggest problem with Ned? She kept underlining his Bible when she couldn't find hers. That's it, that was the fight. Meanwhile, Marge was trying to keep Homer from getting drunk and flashing strangers at marriage counseling retreats. Their marriage was so perfect, it made Homer physically ill. Like, actually sick. The man once shouted, "Your wife's butt is higher than my wife's butt." That's not jealousy, that's spiritual defeat. But here's where things get interesting. While Maud started out as a bland symbol of domestic bliss, the writers slowly turned her into something PK else. Less Stepford sweetheart, more judgmental Puritan with binoculars. By the time we hit season 8, Maud wasn't just supporting Ned. She was side-eyeing the whole town from behind the curtains. She spied on Marge. She lectured the neighbors. And when a comet was going to wipe out humanity, she didn't even blink. When Ned gave up his spot in the bomb shelter, she was like, "Alrighty then, bye." No tears, no screaming, just pure holy detachment. And that shift was huge. Maud went from being Ned's angelic support system to a character so rigid, she made Principal Skinner look like Lenny on tequila. But then, poof, gone. Just like that. In one of the most bizarre and darkly hilarious moments in Simpsons history, Maud Flanders gets yeeted into the afterlife by a t-shirt cannon at a NASCAR event. 1 second she's fetching hot dogs, the next, bam! She's cartwheeling off the bleachers like a deleted Mortal Kombat fatality. Maud Flanders, the perfect wife. Until she wasn't. Before the t-shirt cannon launched her into the afterlife, Maud Flanders was peak Springfield wife material. Always polite, eternally supportive, and shaped like a modestly blessed corn dog. To Ned, she was more than a spouse. She was his God-approved scripture highlighting, Bible study hosting queen. Maud first appeared back in season 2, instantly setting the bar for wife who makes Marge feel insecure. Her biggest problem with Ned? She kept underlining his Bible when she couldn't find hers. That's it, that was the fight. Meanwhile, Marge was trying to keep Homer from getting drunk and flashing strangers at marriage counseling retreats. Their marriage was so perfect, it made Homer physically ill. Like, actually sick. The man once shouted, "Your wife's butt is higher than my wife's butt." That's not jealousy, that's spiritual defeat. But here's where things get interesting. While Maud started out as a bland symbol of domestic bliss, the writers slowly turned her into something PK else. Less Stepford sweetheart, more judgmental Puritan with binoculars. By the time we hit season 8, Maud wasn't just supporting Ned. She was side-eyeing the whole town from behind the curtains. She spied on Marge. She lectured the neighbors. And when a comet was going to wipe out humanity, she didn't even blink. When Ned gave up his spot in the bomb shelter, she was like, "Alrighty then, bye." No tears, no screaming, just pure holy detachment. And that shift was huge. Maud went from being Ned's angelic support system to a character so rigid, she made Principal Skinner look like Lenny on tequila. But then, poof, gone. Just like that. In one of the most bizarre and darkly hilarious moments in Simpsons history, Maud Flanders gets yeeted into the afterlife by a t-shirt cannon at a NASCAR event. 1 second she's fetching hot dogs, the next, bam! She's cartwheeling off the bleachers like a deleted Mortal Kombat fatality. Ginger, the Wildest wife. You'd think a man who once got flustered hearing the word underpants wouldn't end up married to a chain-smoking cocktail waitress named Ginger in Las Vegas. And yet, here we are. After Maud's death left Ned heartbroken and emotionally rawer than Milhouse at a school dance, he decided to live a little. Which in Flanders terms meant, brace yourself, going to Las Vegas with Homer. The same Homer who once accidentally sold his soul for a donut and then ate it anyway. What could possibly go wrong? Spoiler alert, everything. Fueled by Sin City sarsaparilla, also known as beer, Ned went from quoting Psalms to marrying a complete stranger in a chapel shaped like a cowboy boot. Enter Ginger, loud, brash, bedazzled, and everything Maud wasn't. She didn't read the Bible, she ashtrayed it. And in the words of Ned himself, "Oh no, dilly do, what have I done?" Let's not forget, this is the same trip where Homer marries Amber, Ginger's equally chaotic friend. So now you've got a foursome of accidental spouses stumbling through a moral hangover, trying to remember how they got hitched between the blackjack tables and the all-you-can-eat shrimp trough. And the best part? Ned didn't even remember getting married. Homer had to explain it to him like a parent telling a toddler why you don't lick electrical sockets. But here's where things get really spicy. For all his guilt and God-fearing regret, Ned actually tries to make the marriage work. That's right. Instead of immediately annulling the whole neon-lit disaster, Ned decides that Ginger deserves a chance. Because, well, till death do us part. Even if that part started next to a drunk guy in a pirate costume. And to her credit, Ginger does stick around for a bit. But then she meets Rod and Todd, Ned's angelic little Stepford sons who think marshmallow is too spicy, and realizes she accidentally married into a cult run by Muppet babies. She bails fast, like threw her cigarettes in the trash and hit the highway fast. She tells Ned he's too goody-goody, and honestly, she wasn't wrong. Ginger was looking for a party. Ned was offering a prayer circle and a casserole. The woman wanted margarita. But here's the thing, this chaotic marriage did more than give Ned a hangover that could last through Revelation. It cracked open the Ned we thought we knew. For the first time, he wasn't the guy in the cardigan quoting Leviticus. He was reckless, impulsive, vulnerable. For one brief glittery night, Ned Flanders was a Simpson. And the writers, they noticed. This wasn't just comic relief. It was a pivot point. Vegas Ned was the birth of Single Ned, the guy who would go on to date teachers, singers, widows, and women with literal ghost baggage. Ginger may not have been his soulmate, but she was the shot of tequila Ned needed to break out of his Bible bubble. Up next, the woman who made Ned think he was ready to move on until he tried to turn her into Maude 2.0. Well, let's talk about Rachel Jordan. Rachel Jordan, the almost relationship. Right after the Las Vegas chaos fizzled out like one of Lenny's relationships, Ned did what any recently widowed, spiritually rattled man would do. He turned to Christian rock. Because nothing says emotional stability like sad guitars and lyrics about abstinence. And that's where Rachel Jordan comes in. Rachel is the lead singer of a Christian rock band called Covenant, which is basically U2 if they replaced Bono with the pastor from Seventh Heaven. She's smart, soulful, and wears exactly the kind of modest turtlenecks that scream, "I might kiss you on the second date, but only if we're married first." The first time they meet is at church, obviously. Ned's feeling vulnerable, lost, and emotionally more scrambled than Ralph Wiggum in a spelling bee. But then Rachel sings, "Jesus doesn't make mistakes," and bam! Ned's mustache practically does a cartwheel. He's smitten. There's just one problem. Ned's not ready. He still sets an extra place at the dinner table for Maude. He flinches when someone mentions the word remarriage. And emotionally, the man is one Bible verse away from sobbing into a loaf of zucchini bread. So when Rachel casually suggests getting coffee, Ned politely declines. And honestly, it's one of the most mature things he's ever done. He doesn't force it, he doesn't overshare, he just says, "Maybe one day." And Rachel smiles and walks away like an actual adult in a cartoon town full of lunatics. But of course, this is The Simpsons, where closure is about as stable as Grandpa Simpson's memory. So Rachel returns in season 12 for the episode I'm Going to Praise Land. And this time, Ned is convinced he's finally ready to move on. And what's his idea of moving on? Turning Rachel into a Maude clone. We're talking forcing her to sleep on the non-Maude side of the bed, making her dress like Maude, cutting her hair to look exactly like Maude. At this point, Rachel should have called the cops. Instead, she just nopes out the front door faster than Mr. Burns in a charity 5K. "You're not over Maude, you're trying to make me into her," she says. And Ned, visibly heartbroken, realizes she's absolutely right. But Rachel wasn't just there to break his heart. She was a mirror, a gentle wake-up call. She showed Ned that grief isn't just about crying, It's about letting go, even if that means deleting your dead wife's Amazon wishlist. What follows is one of Ned's most touching episodes. The family builds Maud's dream amusement park, Praiseland, a god-themed Disneyland where the rides quote scripture and the mascots are shaped like guilt. Of course, because this is Springfield, it ends in disaster. A gas leak, a group of orphans, and a miracle-induced mob that thinks Maud's ghost is behind it all. But underneath the absurdity, there's real emotion. Ned finally accepts that Maud is gone. And he finally clears out her indentation in the bed, with Rachel by his side. But after that, Rachel disappears. No breakup, no closure. She just vanishes like Barney's tab at Mo. Pose, and that's kind of the point. Rachel was never meant to be Ned's forever. She was the middle chapter. The person who reminded him that life goes on, that grief is messy, and that sometimes love doesn't come from trying to recreate the past. It comes from being brave enough to face the future. She was the right woman at the wrong time. But Ned's love story was far from over. Because the next woman, she wasn't from church. She wasn't a school teacher. She wasn't even from Springfield. She was a Hollywood movie star with a wild side, and she was about to flip Ned's world upside down in public. Sarah Sloane, the movie star and the hilltop twist. At this point in the story, Ned Flanders has buried a wife, married a Vegas waitress, been ghosted by a Christian rock star, and probably cried into his I Heart Rod and Todd mug more times than he'd admit. So, naturally, the next step? Date a famous Hollywood actress. Because if there's one thing Ned Flanders needed after years of God-fearing celibacy and potluck dinners, it was a high-profile romance straight out of Notting Hill, but with more church and fewer teeth-whitening scenes. Enter Sarah Sloane, the sultry star of The Zookeeper's Wife, a fictional film in the Simpsons universe that probably got snubbed by the Springfield Film Festival in favor of Man Getting Hit by Football. Sarah meets Ned while he's doing paperwork alone at the left Oriole, because nothing says midlife thrill-seeking like tax forms at your own store. She's instantly drawn to his old-fashioned manners, clean living, and the fact that he's the only man in Springfield who says things like, well, butter my biscuits and call me righteous, unironically. Their chemistry is shockingly electric. I mean, Ned goes from holding hands is sinful to full-blown make-out sessions faster than Apu can stock a convenience shelf. One kiss and he's like, I'll be tasting you on my mustache for a week. Sarah? Wanna try for a month? Boom. Ned.exe has stopped responding. Things escalate quickly. Sarah meets Rod and Todd, who welcome her with the same wide-eyed innocence they usually reserve for Bibles and bedtime songs. And for a moment, it seems like Ned is finally winning. He's dating a gorgeous, successful woman who genuinely seems into him. But because this is The Simpsons, everything falls apart faster than one of Homer's get-rich-quick schemes. See, Sarah's latest movie includes a nude scene, and Ned is not having it. He storms the set like a khaki-wearing knight, demanding that his girlfriend stay modest in a zebra mating scene, only in Springfield. To her credit, Sarah stands by him. She agrees to cut the scene on the condition that she still gets to kiss another woman. Ned's mustache twitches, but he rolls with it. Progress. She even offers to move to Springfield. That's right. A literal movie star is willing to give up Hollywood for a town where the most exciting local event is Free Donut Monday at Lard Lad. And Ned? He's not sure he can handle it. Because it turns out Sarah likes attention. She wears dresses that show more skin than Flanders has seen since Maud's ankles at the church picnic. And during a date at a rock concert, she stuns the crowd and Ned with a little too much red carpet flair. Then comes the big moment. Under the stars, surrounded by hills and gossiping church ladies, probably watching from binoculars, Sarah makes her move. And Ned finally goes all the way. That's right, Ned Flanders has premarital sex. Somewhere, Reverend Lovejoy just dropped his holy water. But in classic Ned fashion, he proposes the very next morning. And in classic Hollywood fashion, Sarah gently turns him down. She loves him, but not enough to live a Ned-style life of sweater, wear vests, and silent grace. And just like that, Sarah walks out of Ned's life, leaving behind only memories, heartbreak, and a scandalized Rod and Todd probably writing apology letters to God. So, what did we learn? Sarah wasn't Ned's soulmate. She was the temptation, the challenge, the hot mess phase he never had in college because he was too busy quoting Leviticus at prom. Her role wasn't to stay, it was to shake him up, to pull him out of his moral rut and make him question who he really is beyond the Bible verses and baked goods. And yes, she nearly broke him, but she also proved that underneath all the diddly-doodly, Ned was still capable of passion. He just needed to find someone who could handle both sides of him, the church elder and the man who once got freaky behind a rock concert stage. And that's where Edna comes in, a woman who smoked in the teacher's lounge, took no crap from anyone, and somehow found a way to love Ned Flanders. Get ready for the most surprisingly grounded, genuinely emotional chapter of Ned's entire love life. Edna Krabappel, the real deal. Maud was the church-approved casserole queen, and Sarah was the Hollywood shock to Ned's system. Edna Krabappel was the unexpected curveball he never saw coming. Mostly because she was usually half a bottle deep by noon. Edna wasn't Ned's type. She drank. She smoked. She taught children with the enthusiasm of someone clocking in for jury duty. And yet, she might have been the closest thing to a real soulmate Ned Flanders ever had. Their story didn't start with doves and gospel choirs. It started with pettiness and rebound energy. In Alone Again, Natura Didili, Ned, newly widowed and lonely enough to consider talking to Mo for companionship, goes on a date with Edna. But it's a disaster. Not because of Ned, surprisingly, but because Edna's only there to make Principal Skinner jealous. That's right. Springfield's resident thirst-trapped teacher once dated Skinner, comic book guy, Mo, and Sideshow Bob. At this point, her dating history reads like a police lineup. Needless to say, sparks didn't fly. But years later, in the Ned Liest catch, Edna quite literally falls into Ned's life. No, really. She plummets from a building into his arms like a chain-smoking Disney princess. Cue the awkward, flirting, mustache jokes, and Ned looking more flustered than Milhouse at a pool party. And this time, it clicks. Unlike his previous partners, Edna doesn't tiptoe around Ned's beliefs. She challenges them. She questions his judgments, stands up for herself, and tells him off when he acts like a sanctimonious prude, which, let's face it, is most of the time. There's one moment that perfectly sums up their early dynamic. Ned finds out about Edna's long list of past boyfriends, including Mo, which, yikes. And instead of saying, "I accept you," he says, "I forgive you." Edna, You sanctimonious prude. Who are you to judge how I've lived my life? Mic dropped. Chalkboard snapped. Mustache stunned. But here's the wild part. Despite that rocky start, the two kept dating. And the writers gave viewers a choice. Literally. The episode ended with Homer and Marge breaking the fourth wall, asking fans to vote online whether Ned and Edna should stay together. And Springfield showed up. In the next season's premiere, it's confirmed the people wanted Nedna. And suddenly the show's unlikeliest couple became its most wholesome. Weirdly enough, it worked. Edna brought out Ned's human side. She helped Rod and Todd see there was more to life than Sunday school and non-dairy communion wafers. She introduced them to Springfield Elementary, where the trauma is free and the bullies punch on sight. Sure, Ned had a meltdown when he saw his kids wearing light-up sneakers and temporary tattoos. But hey, growth is uncomfortable. They had arguments. They clashed over parenting, but that's what made them real. Edna didn't want Ned to be perfect. She wanted him to be honest. And for the first time, we saw Ned let go of his ideal Christian dad fantasy and embrace the messy reality of blended families. Unfortunately, The Simpsons isn't just about jokes, it's about loss too. In 2013, voice actress Marcia Wallace, who brought Edna to life for over 2 decades, passed away. Out of respect, the show didn't recast her. Instead, they quietly confirmed her off-screen death in a silent, heartbreaking scene. Ned, wearing a black armband, sitting alone, gazing at her photo. "Sure do miss that laugh," he says. It's a gut punch. One of the show's funniest, sharpest, most grounded characters, gone. And with her, Ned's best chance at real, lasting love. Edna wasn't perfect. She drank too much, snapped at kids, and probably violated a few HR rules. But she was exactly what Ned needed. Ghosts, flash forwards, and the Ned apocalypse of love. By now, you might be thinking, okay, surely Ned's love life can't get more chaotic. Buddy, this is The Simpsons. Of course it can. Let's start with the ghosts. Yes, plural. Because if being haunted by one dead wife wasn't enough emotional baggage, Ned Flanders ends up in a spiritual love triangle with Maud's ghost and Edna's ghost, like some kind of poltergeist version of The Bachelor. There's an actual scene where both ghost wives appear and silently float near him like passive-aggressive guardian angels. One died in a church pew, the other probably died correcting Rod's homework. And now they're stuck hovering around Ned like judgmental Casper cosplayers, waiting to see who he'll love more from beyond the grave. If that's not enough, The Simpsons fast forwards us into the future. Multiple times, and each time, Ned's love life gets weirder than Disco Stew running a Bible study. Flash forward 1, Flanders Ladder. In season 29's Flanders Ladder, Bart falls into a coma, casual, and we get a peek into the future. What do we see? Ned and Marge married. Yup, that happened. Apparently, after Homer's death, we're assuming from either a nuclear meltdown or choking on a sub sandwich, Marge ends up with Ned. The two of them are shown together, happily married, and raising her kids like a wholesome little doily-wearing cult. Honestly, it kind of makes sense. They're both dorky, domestic, and oddly turned on by baked goods. And let's be real, Marge has always had a soft spot for Flanders. She's defended him. She's praised him. And in The Devil Wears Nada, she came this close to kissing him after feeding him strawberries and whipped cream. If that kitchen timer hadn't gone off, we might have needed a full spin-off called Keeping Up with the Krabapples. Still, that flash forward is non-canon, which in Simpsons terms just means only real if the writers feel like it later. Flash forward to Holidays of Future Past. Now here's the one that matters. In Holidays of Future Past, an episode many fans consider to be the show's true future, we see Ned much older, still wearing the same sweater, respect the brand, and he's remarried to Maud. Yup, Ghost Maud gets a second shot at life and love. Or at least ghost marriage. Look, the logistics are unclear, but the sentiment is there. Ned ends up with the one who started it all. Even in a future filled with robot pets, digital prayer apps, and Bart's fourth divorce, Ned keeps it old school, right down to resurrecting his original wife. But don't put your tissue box away just yet, because the writers weren't done tormenting Springfield's nicest widower. The every woman theory. At some point, the Simpsons writers looked at Ned and went, what if this man dated everyone? And so began the Ned Flanders dating speedrun. Between episodes, throwaway jokes, and background gags, Ned ends up with nearly every single woman in Springfield. Miss Springfield, Lindsay Nagle, Mrs. Hibbert, Cookie Kwan, you name her, Flanders has probably dated her, proposed to her, or accidentally called her Maud during prayer. It gets so absurd that fans started joking that Ned might secretly be Springfield's Black Widow. Like, how do you date this many people and still end up alone unless you're hiding something sinister? Some even speculate that Ned is a closeted serial killer. Gasp! Taking out his partners one by one with lethal doses of awkward politeness and tuna noodle casserole. Far-fetched? Absolutely. Canon? No. Hilarious? 100%. But here's what all these ghost visits, future weddings, and endless dates really show. Ned's story isn't just about finding love. It's about trying to fill a void. Every woman after Maud? A coping mechanism, a spiritual test, or in Ginger's case, just bad judgment fueled by discount cocktails. Ned's search for love is a reflection of who he is. A man stuck between faith and fear, control and chaos. And while Springfield throws every kind of woman and ghost at him, only a few truly made a lasting impact. And speaking of lasting impact, there's still one final piece to this puzzle. The woman who voters chose. The one who changed not just Ned's love life, but his entire character arc. It's time for the final word on Nedna. The final verdict. Who was Ned's true soulmate? So after everything, the prayer circles, the ghost wives, the emotional whiplash of dating a Hollywood actress and a chain-smoking school teacher, it's time to answer the big question. Who was Ned Flanders' one true love? Let's be real. Maud was the classic, the first wife, the woman who made casseroles for Bible study and probably labeled her label maker. She was kind, soft-spoken, and matched Ned's spiritual energy like a pair of holy socks. But let's not kid ourselves. Their relationship was less deep emotional bond and more perfect sitcom couple wallpaper. Sweet? Yes, but a little too perfect. Like if Paige were a person. Then there's Rachel Jordan, the Christian rock singer who helped Ned inch out of his grief bubble. She was patient, grounded, and honestly deserved better than being turned into Maud 2.0 with a forced haircut and a bedtime seating chart. She was important, but let's be honest, she was the rebound that came in a hymnal. Ginger, a beautiful mistake. A hilarious, glitter-covered lesson in why Ned should never drink anything stronger than decaf. She wasn't his soulmate. She was a cautionary tale in fishnets. Sarah Sloan? She brought out Ned's spicy side. She challenged his morals, showed him he could loosen up, and introduced him to the concept of making out under the stars. But their lives were galaxies apart. She wanted red carpets. He wanted red letter Bibles. And once you've made love during a lupus fun run, where do you really go from there? Then there's Marge. In another world maybe? But Homer would have to die first, probably by sandwich. And even then, Marge would just spend the whole marriage cleaning Ned's ceiling fans and sobbing into casseroles. But one woman did fit Ned like a perfectly ironed sweater vest. Someone who didn't just share his life but shaped it. Edna Krabappel. Edna was the only woman who didn't just slide into Ned's life. She stormed in. She challenged his worldview, made him rethink his holier-than-thou habits, and told him straight up when he was being a judgmental goober. She didn't need Ned. She chose him. And not because he was perfect, but because he was real. Their love wasn't clean or convenient. It was messy. They fought, they clashed. She made him question things. And that's what made it matter. Edna pushed Ned to grow as a person, not just a Christian dad stereotype. She opened him up to modern life, helped his boys experience the real world, and most importantly, loved Ned without trying to turn him into someone else, and vice versa. And let's not forget, when the fans were asked to vote, they picked her. That wasn't just a ship, that was a Springfield certified marriage backed by the people. Sure, we didn't get enough episodes with them. And her exit was sudden and sad. But in their short time together, Nedna felt the most real, the most earned, the most human. So, no offense to the ghosts, the groupies, the fantasy flash forwards, or the fan theories. But Edna Krabappel was Ned's one true soulmate. She didn't just complete him, she complicated him. And that's how you know it was real love. And there you have it. Ned Flanders. The Bible thumping, ghost dating, Vegas marrying, mustache smooching, romantic train wreck we never knew we needed. From losing Maud to a rogue t-shirt cannon, to making out with a Hollywood actress on a hill during a lupus fun run, to almost turning Rachel Jordan into Maud 2.0 like some kind of church-approved build-a-wife, Ned's love life has had more twists than a treehouse of horror episode. But hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Flanders chaos of Springfield's holiest heartthrob, make sure to smash that like button harder than Homer crashes into Ned's lawn ornaments. Hit subscribe so you don't miss future breakdowns of Simpsons madness. Whether it's Bart's most criminal moments, Homer's most boneheaded jobs, or why Moe probably shouldn't be allowed near a phone ever. And drop a comment below. Who do you think was Ned's true soulmate? Was it Maud, Edna, or someone else entirely? Maybe Patty? Don't laugh. That's probably coming in season 40. If you made it this far, you deserve a Left Orium loyalty card and a front row seat at Praise Land. And until next time, thank you. Come again.